Hey guys, I'm making a quick video here. Just this radio, although it's been a blessing in disguise, seeing how my other radio I had to manually go in and switch it, like hold these all different ways to get it to switch back and forth between different planes. When you buy something online, okay, so I got this as a deal online for $100. You know, these radios usually run about $120 to $150. It's a Tactic 650. So when I bought the radio, I've opened it up a few times and it didn't seem to have anything wrong with it. One of these switches right here, this switch was loose and it didn't have the ring on here. There's a ring that spins onto this. It actually screws on to hold this up. Well, I actually glued that one in because there was no ring when I got it. So it's actually really glued and firmed in there really good. But over here, I knew that there were switches missing. I knew that it had issues. But this didn't have a ring on it. This switch right here. Okay, and I didn't know that. I've been messing with this radio. I've had it open like 4 or 5 times and didn't realize that this is loose. So today, I'm going to post a video later. I'm actually really pissed about it right now. So I'm making this video just so you guys just beware when you buy something online. Check it thoroughly. What happened today, unfortunately, I went to go fly my MiG today, and she's actually one of my prettier 64mm jets. I have to say that I've kept her in pretty good condition. I had a MiG. My first MiG is absolutely destroyed. We beat the piss out of that thing learning how to fly. And I got another MiG. I got this Motion RC MiG, which is sitting right there right now. She's drying out. And so what happened is this effing switch fell into the remote, okay? And what happened was it fell all the way in. And then I just went to push up elevator to get the plane to lift. It was actually a good hand launch. It was going to go right up. All I had to do was pull back on the elevator to get it to go up. This switch fell down all the way inside of here and got caught behind the switch. So I couldn't pull up. And my MiG went straight into a big, like the only mud pile in the whole field of snow, because the snowmobiles are out there tearing it up and ripping up the grass and ripping up lower areas where there's low spots of snow, and they're sitting there revving their sleds out on it and tearing up the grass and the mud. And it hit the only spot that had mud, and we messed her up. We messed her up pretty good. I'm really upset about it. I am, because I haven't crashed planes since I learned how to fly, really. So basically what happened was we dented her in a little bit. It's not too bad. The cowling right there ripped off, and it ripped a chunk of this off too. Other than that, it's fine. I have it cleaned out. This whole MiG was full of mud. All the way back was full of mud, and you'll see why. You'll see why. I'm going to post the video here in a minute, and you'll see why it got full of mud. It actually hit, like I said, the only spot where there was actually mud. It was actually that spot where it hit. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate for the MiG today. It was a bad day for the MiG. But she'll live to fly again. I got all the electronics cleaned out. I have her ripped completely apart right now. I actually have to clean off the fan, but this see the mud on it and shit. Surprisingly, the engine got no water or mud on it. If it did, oh well, I'd just buy another Freewing, whatever that is, 4300 kV motor, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. My issue is when you buy something used on eBay or Amazon, check the fucking thing thoroughly, man, because your radio system, it depends on what you have for a radio and the quality that it is and the condition that it is. What if that was my F-14 up in the air? I'm not saying that I would be flying my F-14 on this Tactic, but what if that was my F-14 just now? I mean, and I couldn't pull back on the stick, and I couldn't stop in time, and she went barreling off the runway and into the fence. I mean, or what if that would have happened while one of my nicer planes were in the air? Like, say, my ME-262 flies on this radio, my F-16 V2 flies on this radio. What if that would have happened with one of those nicer planes up in the air, man? I've been really pissed. So now I have to fix this switch. I honestly just want to go in and cut all the fucking switches out except for these two over here, because all I need it for is my landing gear, flaps on one plane, landing gear, and then another switch for my timer. I don't even really use the timer. I have like this eternal clock that's in my head, and internal clock that I use, and I don't ever really run it past the time. When I put my batteries back on the charge, they usually are like 3.75, 3.73. So that means I still actually had quite a minute of time at least left on that battery. So I always have this clock in my head that's going. I know how many circles I can go around. You guys see how I fly a circle pattern around me. I pretty much know how many circles I can go around before I have to land or get serious about landing. Sometimes I push it, but most of the time I don't. But this switch has come loose, and it fell down inside, causing my my elevator stick to not work at all. I could go side to side, but I couldn't move it down. I couldn't pull it down because this switch was stuck underneath it. So I went into the radio, I got it fixed, I got it pulled out. Now I have to glue it in there because this one's glued in and it hasn't moved. I mean, it's in there pretty good. I glued that one in when I first bought the radio because it was loose. And this one wasn't loose when I first bought the radio, so it must have been glued. And just make sure you check your shit before you start using it, guys. I mean, who the hell wants to throw a $200, $300 plane up in the air and then your freaking radio's messed up somehow? If it's brand new and you got it brand new, then you know, obviously, this is just for you guys that want to save a little bit of money and you buy something used off eBay. Check that radio thoroughly. Make sure that it's in proper working condition and all your switches are where they're supposed to be and fastened down. And if they're not and they're loose, glue them into place. Do whatever you have to do to fasten them in because, like I said, it was the MiG today. It could have been, you know, later in the summer and that hadn't happened yet, and I could have been flying my F-16 V2 or my ME-262, and what a mess it would have been. So I'm glad it happened with one of the cheaper 64 mils. I'm glad it happened with this one. I'm sad that it happened with this one because out of all my 64 mils, this is my better looking one. It's the one that I've taken the most care of. It's the one that, you know, when I'm landing, yeah, I've had it for a while, and you know, I beat up the Sabre a little bit. I beat up the F9F a little bit, but this one had like no blemishes in it. It had no scarring, no nothing. It was actually in very good condition before today. And I mean, I'll be able to put it back together and make it look like it was when it was brand new. I'll expand that foam again. I have some touch-up paint that I can put on there to make it look good again, but the fact of the matter is check your shit, man. I had no idea that switch had fallen in. I wasn't paying attention to it. It's not a switch that I use. I use my switches on the left side because I'm left-handed, so I'm like dominantly going to the left for everything. There's not even switches here. There's supposed to be 2 switches here, but they're not here. But I knew that. I got this radio mad cheap because I knew that it was busted up. But this one, however, was in place. It was there for the longest time. It was, you know, I don't know what happened. But you got to make sure you check your stuff. That was loose, and it ended up falling in eventually over time. And it cost me damage to my my little Miggy over there. But yeah, that's my shit. That's what I'm saying. That's all I got to say. I'm gonna put the video up of actually what happened. You can see it actually impact the mud and just smash right into the only mud spot on the field. It's like a 3-foot section of mud, and the plane actually just randomly hit that spot, and the whole fuselage inside was completely caked with mud. The electronics, fortunately, didn't get messed up at all. But I'm going to post this video. I've already made it longer than I wanted to. I just wanted to warn you guys, if you're going to buy something through eBay and not brand new, check it thoroughly. Tear the thing apart. It's not hard to pull one of these things apart. It's actually fairly easy. There's 6 screws on the back. It pulls apart, and then it goes back together just as easy as it pulls apart. So make sure everything's in working condition. Make sure all your switches are solidly placed in there and they're not flopping around. They're not, if you wiggle each one, and make sure if it's wiggling around, just put a little dab of like Gorilla Glue there. That way later, if you have to replace the switch for some reason, you can just snap the Gorilla Glue and you can pull the switch out and redo it over again. But check your shit, guys, so you don't end up like me. Really bad day. Really frustrated right now. The fuel tank's come loose again. It's come loose again. And when that shit happened to my Sabre, I just ripped them completely off because the planes actually fly better without those big fucking fuel tanks on there. So, yeah, that's what this is about. Just make sure your equipment depicts what's going to happen to your plane in the sky. I mean, Servos can go bad and stuff like that too. But if your radio's shit, you're done. Later, guys.
I have to hold it by the butt and launch it. Got a heavier battery in it now, so it's gonna be a tad bit nose heavy. All right, let's see if we can get her going.
Shit.
Whoa.